Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Gananaham Tva Ganapatigum Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamastravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anasranvan Utibhisvedasadanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vaje Bhirvajinivati Dhinama Vitrayavatu Ganesaya Namaha Saraswatyai Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sumukascha Ekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha Dhumaketur Ganadhyakshaha Palachandro Gajananaha Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambaha Skandapurvajaha Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Yasya Dvirada Vaktradhyaha Parishadhyaha Parasatam Vignam Nignanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tam Asraye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheswaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Namo Brahma Dibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Katrubhyo Vamsa Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Sarvo Paplava Rahitaha Prajnana Ganaha Pratyagarto Brahmaivaham Asmi Om Narayanam Padmabhavam Vasishtam Shaktim Cha Tatputra Parasaram Cha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapatam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Sishyam Adi Sankara.He Mathasya Padmapaadam Cha Hastamalakam Cha Sishyam Tam Totakam Vartikakara Manyanasmat Gurun Santata Manatosmi Vartikakaram Anyanasmat Gurun Santata Manatosmi Shruti Smruti Purananamalayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Isvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyoma Vat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. With Swami's grace and Acharya Bhagavad-Padal's Anugraham and blessings and Dayai, let us continue where we left off. One quick thing, Dinaya Minyo Sayam Prataha, we did that, right? No, we also did Kate Kanta Dhanakata Chinta, and right, up to that point we came. Okay, so this Kate Kanta Dhanakata Chinta Vatulakim Tava Nasti Niyanta Trijagati Sajjana Samgati Rekha Bhavati Bhavarnava Tarane Nauka. That we saw was given to us by, and also to that Vaikaranya Pandita by Padmapaadar. Yesterday I received a note, an email note from one of you, and that gave me the thought that I should very briefly mention about a couple of these Sishyas of Shankara, that they're very interesting stories. And very briefly I'll mention that, even though we covered Padmapaadar Slokam, and next one we're going to take up is Totakacharya. And this email yesterday pertained to Totakacharya actually, but that reminded me maybe I should mention a few words about Padmapaadar. Among the many disciples that Adi Sankara had, four of them stand out, the foremost disciples. One of them, the very first one is Padmapaadar, then Totakacharya is there, Hastamalaka is there, and Sureshwaracharya is there. Out of this Padmapadam, as the name implies, very interestingly, in this disciple who himself was an Acharya later on, but this disciple of Adi Sankara was born actually in South India, in the banks of Kaveri, and the Brahmin Varnam, and his name was Vimala. From young age onwards, he had mastered the Vedas. I mean, all the scriptures. He was inclined towards that, and this comes from several births of Bhagavan's grace, and where one gets spiritually inclined. Even that inclination takes a while to mature. He was very, very fortunate, mastered the Vedas, and he showed a distaste for the worldly life in the sense of getting married and all that. He really wanted to get into sannyasam and free himself, attain mukti. So he was looking for a good teacher. And so when he went to Kashi, Bhagavad-Padar Adi Sankara.He was staying there. And then he was expounding his Bhashyangal, Adi Sankara.He was expounding. At that time, Vimala saw him, immediately went and ran and fell down at his feet and beseeched him to take him as his disciple. And Acharya, as soon as he saw him, he perceived, how well learned this man was. And not only was courageous to undertake the path that he wanted to do, and also the earnestness, sincerity of what he wanted to achieve. And so he accepted him as a disciple and initiated him into sannyasam and gave him the name Sanandana. Now he was Adi Sankara's one of the first disciple actually. First, not only in terms of time, but also in terms of devotion. He was extremely devoted to his guru. Those of you who were participated in our journey together on the Bhagavad Gita, and those of you may not have done that but have studied Bhagavad Gita independently, may recall the slokam Tad Vidhi Pratipanena Pariprasnena Sevaya, and where the Gitacharya instructs, where we should, how we should gain this knowledge, what we should do when we seek a guru. And he also talks about the qualification of a guru, but he says how we should approach the guru in order to learn the knowledge from him, to partake the knowledge from him rather than learn, to partake the knowledge. The guru has to share the knowledge, and tad vidhi, understand that, know that, okay, gain that knowledge by how pranipatena means, when you put in a colloquial term, it is doing namaskaram. We fall ashtanga namaskaram. No, that is not what it is. That's a physical activity. What is pranipatena means to be mentally very devoted, to sublimate yourself to the Acharya. Sublimate yourself with tremendous devotion, bhakti, and that is called pranipatena. And that is what Vimala did, and with tremendous devotion, exemplary devotion. Unrivaled. And because of that, obviously, Acharya, when an Acharya teaches, shares his knowledge from his personal experience, if he is very pleased, automatically he will be very inclined to share that with you. One of them is to be very devoted to him. So Acharya was so much moved by his devotion that he not only taught the scriptural teachings on the explanation of the fundamental truth from the various scriptures to Vimala, to Sanandana, not once but thrice. 3 times he explained to him. And this created a little bit of a discomfort, a disharmony, and an amount of jealousy among other students, but Acharya set that straight. Once when Sanandana and a few other disciples were on the other side of the banks of Ganga, on the other bank of the Ganga, the Acharya was on the other side, Acharya called them to come. Immediately, Sanandana, without even hesitating, not even for a kshanam, very naturally, he started, because my Acharya is calling me and so devoted to him, he started walking on Ganga. Absolutely effortlessly, no hesitation. His faith in his Acharya was so total that his Acharya will protect him, will take care of him. Absolutely total. Even Ganga was absolutely astounded. So what did he do? Immediately, wherever Sanandana put his foot, immediately a Padmam, a lotus bloomed there. So basically, the Ganga gave him footsteps of lotus all along the way, wherever Sanandana put his foot on. And unconcerned and effortlessly, without even being aware of what is happening, Sanandana reached the other side. And the Acharya gave him an embrace that we all, when we are blessed to get the embrace like what Rama gave to Hanuman when he came back with the news that he has located and seen Sita, and that kind of an embrace it was that you can only imagine. And he was so moved by that. And then so from that time onwards, he said his name is Padmapaadar. That's how the name Padmapaadar came. And Padmapaadar, not only of his scholarship and devotion, but there were a couple of things that happened that are worth knowing, that are not worth knowing, that is very important to know. One was, there was once a Kapalika. Kapalikas are people who are devoted to Bhairava. Bhairava is the Rudra form of Shiva, which is the destruction, the destroying aspect. And the Kala Bhairavas, Kapalikas also carry, human skulls, basically, and put chains of human skulls around their neck, and that's the way they worship. And so he came to Acharya once and he said, Swami, I want to cut your head and offer that to Bhairava. Because that's what he believed in. That's his way for worship. And Acharya very calmly agreed. He said, okay, there's no problem. You can cut my head and take it. But one condition, make sure that none of the disciples come to know about it, especially Padmapada, he said. You should not know about it. And so the Kapalika agreed to it. And so once when Acharya was in Samadhi, and this Kapalika came there, and he was took his sword and about to cut Acharya's head. At that time, the disciples had gone to take bath in the Ganga, and along with Padmapada was also gone with them. But through his intuition, he knew immediately what was happening, and then they meditated on Lord Narasimha, and the next instant, Narasimha was there in front of Acharya in absolute Gora Swarupam with a huge shout and thunder, and he killed the Kapalika. And after that, he let out a big roar, like a lions do. And then immediately all the disciples all came running there, and Acharya also came out of Samadhi, and he found what was in front of him was Narasimha himself. So he pacified him and what happened and all that. Then he told all the disciples that in his Purva Avataram, in the Purva Ashram, in the previous Avataram, Padmapada was a great devotee of Lord Narasimha, meditated on Lord Narasimha, and that's how this happened. And Padmapada then himself gave a story to everybody else of what happened in his life. And once, when he was going through the forest, he said he came across a hunter. And this hunter asked him, what he was doing there. And but Padmapada said, I'm looking for this Narasimha and this man-lion, And hunter said, no, I'm very fully familiar with this jungle and the nooks and corners of this forest, and I've never seen an animal like that, a man-lion animal. No way, you're imagining. But Padmapada said, no, this is true. This is how he looks like. And then he described him in minutest detail of how Narasimha looked like. And the hunter said, oh, that's very interesting. I've never seen that. I'll tell you what. I will catch that animal and bring that to you by sunset tomorrow. So he went away. And next day, the hunter looked all through the forest, jungle, and he could not locate this man-lion, this Narasimha. So as the dusk was approaching, and he felt sad and sorry that he could not keep his word, so he was about to take his life, because a word is worth more than your life. This is the way our ancestors lived. What comes out of your mouth is satyam and it is truth. We must protect it. So when he was about to kill himself, at that time Narasimha came in front of him, appeared. And immediately the hunter said, Narasimha said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm taking your life. This is what happened. He said, no, you take me to him. So the hunter immediately put a noose around Narasimha and dragged him to where Padmapada was. And he brought him to Padmapada's presence, and Padmapada was astounded to see his Bhagavan, his deity, right standing in front of him. with a noose around his neck and the rope being held by the hunter. So he asked, Swami, what is this? What happened? Why did you allow yourself to come like this? What happened? Then the Bhagavan told him, listen, not even Brahma had shown the earnestness and the sincerity in contemplation of my form as this illiterate hunter did. So I appeared in front of him. So this is under this Padmapaadar was later, Bhagavad Padal established 4 major mats. Even to this day, they are all flourishing and doing their job. On each corner of India, on the west corner, because Dwaraka Mat, his Padmapada was appointed as the head of that mat, and that is the Acharya or the disciple. Whichever way you look at him, he is definitely an Acharya for us, and he is the first disciple of Adi Sankara, and he is the one who gave us the Slokam, Kate Kanta Dhanakata Chinta Vatulakim Tava Nasti Niyanta Srijagati Sajjana Samgati Rekha Bhavati Bhavarnava Tharane Nauka. Now we'll go to the next Slokam, which is given to us by Totakacharya. Jadilo Mundi Lunchita Kesaha Kashayambara Bahukrita Veshaha Pasyannapi Nacha Na Pasyati Mudho Hudara Nimittam Bahukrita Veshaha. And few words about Totakacharya before we go into the Slokam, this teaching that he has given. Now, Totakacharya, unlike Padmapada or Sureshwara Acharya is also extremely learned, very, very well learned, and the other, the 4 primary disciples of Adi Shankara are Padmapada Acharya. For us, he is an Acharya. Totakacharya, Totaka was his name. And then Sureshwara Acharya. Sureshwara was extremely learned. Then Hastamalaka was the one who was self-realized already. Okay, but Totakacharya, his name was Giri, actually, and he was not as devoted. He was not as primarily devoted as Padmapada was, or nor was he an exalted learner like Sureshwara was, but he was unrivaled in scrupulous, exemplary service to the Acharya. So you remember Gitacharya's, Krishna's teaching, Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprasnena Sevaya, the devoted, unrivaled, selfless service, putting Acharya's needs ahead of your own, and serving him, continuously, without interruption, even anticipating his needs even before they happen. That kind of being one with him, that service, sevaya, not an ordinary service. That is how exalted Totakacharya was. But because he was great comfort in taking care of the personal needs of the Acharya, whatever he wanted, whether it is water, taking bath, sleeping, food, you name it, whatever the Acharya's need was, Totaka took care of it even before the need happened. When somebody serves you like that, how happy you will be, right? And so Acharya was extremely happy with him. But a devoted servant he was. And but the other disciples, they kind of had this guy is a bit of a nerd, we call it today. Like, he was not that intelligent, so to speak. He was not that smart in studies, but he was extremely devoted, extremely humble and very devoted servant. But the other people had a little bit of a low opinion about him. And once, even Padmapada was not free from that kind of feeling. And once, when Giri had gone to the Ganga to wash his Acharya's clothes, and the Acharya was waiting for him to return before starting the class, before starting the sessions. And the other disciples were getting impatient. And then even Padmapada could not restrain himself. And he said, Swami, why are we waiting for him? I mean, he's, he didn't use the word, he's a dunce. but something like that he said. He said, yeah, he's just like a wall, why are we waiting for him? But Acharya did not like this remark. So he wanted to teach Padmapada a lesson. Not only Padmapada, but also other disciples who had a low opinion of their own fellow student. Okay, just because his IQ was not great or whatever, right? And then what did Acharya do? With a mental flash, right from where he was sitting, he imparted all the knowledge of the Shastras and the Vedas to Giri, who was on the banks of Ganga river. So when Giri came, what did he do? When he came back to the group, he was literally in a blissful state. Imagine when all the knowledge is imparted, all your ignorance is gone, you are shining with knowledge, you are one with Bhagavan, how blissful you will be, what your tejas will be. He was like that. Then he addressed Acharya, Adi Sankara.He, Bhagavad-Padar, in a few brilliant stanzas in Sanskrit. And they are all set to Totaka meter. The meter, like we say Anushtup Chandaha when we talk about Vishnu Sahasranam, for example, right? And in this case it is Totakacharya. The meter is Totakam. And that is why he was called Totakacharya. The late name came. And he had done phenomenal work after that, condensing the whole of Upanishads in a small Shruti, etc., all done in Totaka meter. That is why he was called Totakacharya. Now, the Slokam, the teaching that he has given us. Jatilo mundi lunchita kesaha kashaya ambara bahukruta veshaha pasyannapi cha pasyat na api cha pasyannapi cha na pasyati mudho yudara nimittam bahukruta veshaha. Okay. Jatilaha means when you have what we call in Tamil as chadai, Siva Brahman, sometimes we think of him as chadai, like what matted locks, the hair is full of matted locks, right? And that is called Jatilaha. Mundi means one who is bald-headed, completely shaven. One has got lots of matted locks, matted hair. The other mundi, completely shaven, bald head. And the other one is lunchita. Lunchita means well combed. When you have the hair is, one by one you pull it and nicely comb it or whatever, right? They're all arranged in nice single hair by single hair kind of a thing. That is lunchita. Keshaha means hair. So jatilaha, mundi, lunchita, kesaha. Either with hair full of matted locks, or no hair at all, or hair arranged in one by one in a neat fashion. Kashaya ambara. Ambara means the cloth that you are wearing, especially the bottom portion of the cloth, what we call as veshti, for example. Okay, and that kashaya means ochre color, the ochre color that the sannyasis all wear, right? That orange color. Now, kashaya ambara, or wearing that ochre color robes, either with matted locks, or shaven head, or with hair pulled one by one, arranged like that, or wearing an ochre robe. Bahu kruta veshaha. Bahu means many, in whatever way, in many ways. Kruta means to do. Veshaha, disguises, all the shows that you put on. That is what Vesham means, right? Even though one of these things, even though you may have matted locks, you may be wearing ochre robe, you may have shaven your head, or you may have arranged your hair one by one, pulling one by one. All these Veshangal, all these disguises, in spite of all that, pasyannapi cha na pasyati mudho, he says. It's a very important teaching from Bhagavan. From Totakacharya. Pasyannapi cha na pasyati mudho. Mudho, a fool, ignorant, person who's not using his intelligence. That's what it means. Mudho. Pasyannapi. Even after seeing, Na pasyati, you're not seeing, you don't see. Even after seeing, you don't see. What does it mean? It is very important application to each and every one of us. We see so many things, but do we see God? We see so many things changing all the time, but do we see the constancy among all the changes? We know things are not permanent, but we also know there is a permanence in among all the impermanences. Do we know what that permanence is? We know that the body dies and disappears. We see that all around us. People are born, people die. But do I ever think that I am going to pass away one day? I always behave as if I am eternal and behaving as if I am immortal. Right? Around this, pasyannapi, na pasyati, mudo, you don't see the reality. You see only the maya, you see only the illusion. You are taken in by that. You don't see, is what Totakacharya is telling us. And all these sannyasis, so-called sannyasis, who have matted their hair, or who have completely shaven their head, or who have got, arranged their hair one by one, they picked it, or wearing usher robes, wearing all these various veshangal, disguises. What do? Why? They don't see Bhagavan, they don't see the reality. They're just putting up a show. Why are they putting up this show? Hudara nimitam, lambodara, we say, right? That means udara means, he means, Hudara is got two words. He, udara. He means certainly. What do? Udara nimittam. Udara means for the belly. Nimittam only for the sake of the belly. Bahu kruta veshaha. Only for the sake of the belly, they put various shows and disguises and appearances. They really do not see the reality. That is what Totakacharya is saying. Jatilo mundi lunchita kesaha kashayambara bahukruta veshaha pasyannapicha na pasyati mudho yudara nimittam bahukruta veshaha. That is Totakacharya's teaching. Next is Hastamalaka Acharya's teaching. We will read that and then conclude it for today and take it up tomorrow. Okay, Bhagavan's grace. Pasyannapi cha na pasyati mudho. Always remember that. Now, next one is Angam Galitam Palitam Mundam Dasana Vihinam Chatam Sundam Bruddho Yati Gruhitva Dandam Tadapina Muchati Asha Pindam Angam Galitam Palitam Mundam Dasana Vihinam Chatam Tundam Bruddho Yati Gruhitva Dandam Tadapina Munchati Asha Pindam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Samasta Lokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Lokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Lokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om.